Hi everyone, Rina here. I hope that you're having a nice day. I am really enjoying this weather. It's really cool, breezy. There's no humidity, which is very rare for Florida. Just all of this is kind of rare for Florida, but it is really lovely. So that part's nice. I wanted to share that I was listening to a podcast earlier, and it was really fascinating about one of the first or the first female conductor. She's Brazilian, I believe. Her name is Marin Alsop, and now she is the principal conductor for the Vienna Radio Symphony Orchestra, if I remember the title right. So forgive me if I'm wrong. But anyway, I just wanted to share that it's inspiring to hear women share about their journey to become who they are. And also, what I loved about it was she was sharing how she even self trained to become a conductor. And there was a concept, and this is where I love this because yoga is so interconnected in everything. It's not just about yoga is this thing happening here, and then we have art, and then we have medicine, and then we have, whatever it is, teaching. Like you have all of that, and all of them are informed by yoga. It all coexists. So this is why I was really intrigued, because she was talking about how when you're a conductor, and the way that we naturally are with our hands and we gesticulate, there's a lot of coexistence in our movements. There's a lot of mirroring that happens. And I, of course, being a lover of brain research and even just general physiological research, I think it's the body and mind, everything, spirit is fascinating. So what's really cool is she was saying how many times, even herself, like when you're conducting, both of your hands are basically repeating and mimicking the same thing. And she said it's almost like you're robbing yourself of language from you can basically create a whole second story or supporting story if you can let both hands, both parts of the body exist independently. But it takes training. And so she would hold her hand behind her back, or even her students, she would do the same. And sometimes she even was like joking, but like she would even like just tie down the hand lightly, not by much. She very much caveats it, which I totally appreciate. But in order to train, and it really makes me think of meditation and makes me think of yogasana, the moving practice, because if we are basically, having one part of ourselves and the other part of ourselves, and we're doing the same things in all realms of who we are, you can start to feel a little caught inside of a vault. And you can feel stifled, especially during a pandemic. And I certainly have felt that way. I really don't think I could exist without the practices, genuinely. Like, they really help me. And it doesn't mean that you don't experience difficulty. It means that you have tools that you can call on. So I just wanted to share that with you, and maybe a couple of practices that are simple and easy. And I'm sitting outside in this incredible breathable weather, which is going to change really quickly, I'm sure, um, into the swamp that it also rightfully is and should be, which I appreciate as well. But it's a whole different, a whole different world and existence. Anyway, that all to say that there are ways that we can center ourselves. And I was thinking about it where if you're centered, you can let this arm exist here, you can let this arm exist here, your leg over here, like you can do all of these things that are still grounded in a center space. So we also want to cultivate stories and narratives as human beings. Seems to be the thing that we like to do, right? Like a resume ideally tells a very flowing, fluid story, or if you're going out with people and like you're dating people and you like want to be able to tell a cohesive story of who you are today. I love this, by the way. There's a nice shadow happening. Um, but is it really necessary? Do we have to go back and connect the dots? We can, and we can do it in various ways. But if you're centered, it doesn't matter. You can be doing and fulfilling a bunch of different roles, a bunch of different passions, and still be grounded in who you are in the center. So that's my rambling portion that just had me thinking about how connected it is. And she was even sharing, Rina Alsop was sharing how, you know, you have to be centered and standing in your body. There's a posture to it, you know. So she wasn't necessarily saying the words yogasana, but of course I'm connecting with that part where, of course, we're leading people and we're sensing the music. And this was also really cool. And maybe, wow, this is very like apropos. You tend to get so fixated if you're sighted, and you're looking through your eyes. Conductors would get very fixated on their sight that sometimes she would ask them to close their eyes, or she would want them to have their eyes shielded so that they could actually feel what she called the weight of the music. And so all of this, so recently, just like a couple hours ago, I heard all this. So it's very, very powerful for me to think about that we tend very much, if we're sighted, to go toward our dominant, our dominant sense. And if you're not, if you're differently abled, you know, we tend to go to a dominant sense. How can you disperse your senses? And also, how can you withdraw, which is what we call pratyahara in yoga. So to summarize, the connection really is that we want to stay grounded, centered in ourselves. We can have different limbs doing different things. We can connect them if we want to tell a nice narrative, but we can also let them exist as they are. And if you're just centered, then that's just you living and living a good life, as well as you can. So that's the reflection I have. Maybe you have something different out of what I shared with you. So I'd be really interested to hear if you want to. And I hope this thing isn't too distracting, but I do kind of love that. So let's do a practice of that. Ooh, that's good. So you can take your hands, rub your palms. I'm going to stay like this. I hope that's okay for you in a way that doesn't make you feel disoriented. But if so, you can focus on the trees behind me, huh? Or that beautiful bird. I don't know if you can see the moon too. It's extremely tiny. Amazing. Okay, so rub the palms together. Relax the jaw, open, close it. Soften the shoulders. You can even wiggle them. Rinse out, wring out the hands. If you have a hair tie on, which many of us do, take it off. It's just you make sure you have your circulation flowing. So you're really warming up the hands, also reawakening them, and then take them and without necessarily touching the eye, especially if you're worried about just like cleanliness, just bring your hands in front of your eyes. And then just notice what it feels like to tune it away from that sensation. If your dominant sense is something else, you can close that sense. So you get to choose what it is, but I'll suggest eyes for now. And take a moment, you know, you might be looking to hear what I'm going to say next. You might be thinking, what is this supposed to be doing? So just follow your mind as you're doing this. Notice if the way that you're sitting or standing or however you're watching this, you're creating strain in it. And if you want to, you can also let go of the hands and just close the eyes if you want to, so that you feel more rested. But now the next phase to lead into, and I'm just going to use this perfectly aligned little band here of shadow to just sink into the weight of the present. So there's a lightness, but when we arrive, right, when you think about arriving with your baggages, if you're traveling, there's that feeling of you open the door and you just like put the baggages down. There's a letting go, a sinking in, and experiencing of that weight of vibration in a way where you're actually touching it. It's not fleeting. You're holding it, you're receiving it, and you're just letting go of resistance. So see if you can find that place. Just letting it be maybe dynamic. Dynamic meaning that it doesn't happen in one instant necessarily. Maybe it's with each breath in And each breath out, you sink a little bit more. You're still lifted, but not strained. And as you breathe out, perhaps you sink in to the present a little bit more. Maybe you're hearing the teachings of, the connections I was making earlier from the podcast I was listening to, or it was actually the radio. I'm still that way. I still have a radio. I have all the things, but like the radio is, I do love a radio. Anyway, if you hear those things going through your mind, that's fine, but you can also just kind of let them become background and just see if you can receive that presence where you actually can feel it, like you're taking it into your hand, the weight, not overburdening yourself with weight, the weight of what it feels like to arrive, relief, centeredness, and enjoyment. Okay, also how cool is that? You can see how quickly the sun is shifting. No, just can do a whole nother teaching on that. The fact that we're on a moving, rotating planet, and that in just this short amount of time, it's like gone from here to here. So amazing. But you can open your eyes now, take your hands off your eyes or your ears or whatever you've chosen to cover to receive the experience. You can take your hands on your chest optionally if you want to, just to ground at your center. Give yourself permission to know who you are and to be very happy that you are who you are and that really no one is exactly like you or me, and that we share commonalities as well. We're all these kind of individual walking, talking fingerprints on this planet with animals, with nature. So anyway, thanking yourself for practicing. I hope this, I don't know, I hope it provided something. And if it didn't, you never know what can come out of it later on too. So you might find insight or something, even just frank enjoyment. We need a little more of that purposeless enjoyment. So I hope you find that too. And I hope that you feel well wherever you are, whatever you're going through, whatever you may be enjoying to celebrating. So I hope you're well. Thank you so much.